as a creator, what inspired you? What's been inspiring you to create and sell your own products?
Dumb luck and nobody telling me no. But for the real answer, I think the thing that inspires me the most is the encouragement and the feedback that I've gotten. I had basically no business experience at all in my life. I did lemonade stands growing up, and I took one business class in college, but I really had no idea how to um, sell something that people apparently wanted. I found out through social media, and people said, "Hey, I'll buy this." And so I went on and my wife and I researched a bunch of websites to like see which one was the best. We found Spring. The products did well enough, and you all reached out and said, "Hey, you're doing really well. Do you need help?" And I said, "Yes, I do. Yes, I do need a lot of help." And 3 years later, it's been just kind of a wild ride.
So off the back of that, what do you think then are the most like sort of must-have skills or traits for someone who wants to go out and start selling their own products?
Oh gosh. Most importantly, you have to actually want to do it. I've seen so many of my content creator friends burn out because they started out doing something that they loved, and then, it got to be too much, or there was something that triggered in them and they got bored with it, or their heart wasn't in it anymore. But because they were, financially, uh, you know, wrapped in this whole thing, they couldn't really say no. And they lost that love for it. And it's a really kind of sad thing to do. A lot of creators struggle with burnout. A lot of people are like really trying to find their specific niches. So there can be some struggle there for sure.
Yeah, and Lord of the Rings is such a unique niche, right? So what are some of the pros and cons about that niche? I mean, you just talked a little bit about that, but if you could dive deeper into.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Niche content is sort of where the state of the internet is and where content creators are, in that people want other people to speak on various things. I'm lucky enough that The Lord of the Rings has been sort of my obsession for my whole life. And others are Star Wars or Star Trek or any number of science fiction or fantasy things. And being a kind of niche creator is great because I get to talk about what I love so much. Um, the opposite side of that, though, is that I'm kind of stuck talking about my niche. Like I used to be a journalist. I spent the better part of a decade doing interviews, freelancing in one form or another. And unfortunately, there are times when, because of the way social media is and the algorithm is, I want to speak on something that is powerful or impactful or help people's mental health or to just help them get through the day. And, various platforms are like, this isn't your normal content. We're not going to show as many people. And that can be really disheartening. And I'll link it back to merch because there are various ideas that I've had that are like, this is great, but it's not quite what I typically do. So do you think maybe you guys would like this? And, I've got almost 700,000 followers, but then there will be videos I make that get close to 3,000 views. And that's, it's a little disheartening. And I try and keep my head up on all of that, but it is discouraging.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, fans are um that's part of what makes you successful, right? Is that fan base.
Hmm.
But again, that fan base is following you for specific content. So yeah, what
Right.
you're saying makes absolute sense. Okay, so digging into the YouTube shopping integration specifically,
Yeah.
what was sort of your first win selling on YouTube? Something that made you feel like you were doing the right thing, that like aha moment for you.
Yeah, so this is something that I had never done before. And just to kind of preface this, I started my sort of like online career on blog TV about 15 years ago. And
Okay.
I don't even think it exists anymore. It was like a precursor to Twitch, but it was literally just me live streaming on various, platforms saying, "Hey, let's hang out. Let's talk to people in chat." And I loved doing that. And I love doing that on TikTok. I love doing that on Instagram. But the one thing that I've always sort of wanted to do to that end is, hey, I'm live here. I get a couple thousand people in here for the half hour that I'm live, and not all of them know about, what I'm selling or what I'm doing. So when I heard about the YouTube shopping, it kind of was the perfect marriage between, the two things that I wanted to do, was be able to show folks that I have good content and show folks that, hey, I also have a store. And if you want to support me to continue to be able to make this content for you, this is a huge help. And to be able to just say, click that button and then you're done, the less steps, the better. So we've come a really long way from uh, telling people, go click the link in my bio, or you have to click this button and then you got to go here and there and make sure. This simplifies the process significantly, and it is a huge help.
Yeah, so like the ease of shopping for your fans,
Absolutely.
be able to quickly find the merch that you're selling.
Mhm.
The strategies that you're thinking about and building in your mind when you go and use the YouTube shopping
Mhm.
integration, which strategies do you think have had the biggest impact on the success you've seen with YouTube?
Oh, well, my rep Kelly will tell you that it's mostly dumb luck. No, I'm kidding. That's because that's what I say to her. But I have found that consistency is really key. I try and release a product every 2 to 3 months. We do things every year for Pride. We do things every year for the holiday season, Black Friday, just sort of important dates that people already have in their mind of, oh, it's about a time that I need to buy something for someone or for myself.
Sure.
So consistency has been really key, especially if you want to do this long term. The other thing is building up hype. I was fortunate enough that the first ever merch video that I made went super viral because people liked it. And then you folks reached out, and the rest is history of my success. However, I've never been able to duplicate that. So you almost have to treat it like a chore almost, but in the best possible way. You do need to post uh, a few videos in the months leading up to your post. You have to comment on other people's channels saying, hey, where did you get that shirt? Oh, well, I got it from Don Marshall's store. You have to be sort of in the community that you're interacting in if you want to be able to bring those folks to YouTube shopping into your store.
Yeah, that involvement piece is really huge
Yeah.
when it comes to success. You just sort of mentioned this about how often you launch new products and that consistency piece, but is there sort of a schedule in your mind for how often you like to launch new products? Like, do you plan that out, or is it more sporadic based off of seasonal trends and etc.?
Sometimes it's trends, sometimes it's consistent. So, for example, I will always release Pride Month merchandise in June. That has become a consistent thing. We've done that 3 years in a row, and we're going to do it again this year. There are, though, times when I'm fortunate enough where a video of mine does really well. Just to give you another example, the first ever video I made that led to this whole merchandise thing with Teespring was, hey, um, do you guys think you would buy this? And 400,000 views later and a couple hundred comments later, a very sporadic me and my wife were looking on the computer trying to say, all right, we need to, capture this lightning in a bottle. Let's
Yeah.
do it. So it's a combination of both. And I would, if we're sort of looking to give advice to any creators or any folks that are like asking how they get started,
Mhm.
capitalize on what is popular right now within your community. I can't re-release the stuff I did 2 years ago because that video hasn't gone viral or hasn't been relevant in ages. If I wake up tomorrow with a video that has 1 million views on it, well, all of a sudden, oh, I've got something here. I've got something that people like. And so, I reach out to my rep, we make the merch, we get the artists involved, and we sort of create the thing that the community wants.
So you turn your successful content into merch
Yes, you can
based on its
turn the
success.
yeah, turning the content into the merch is sort of the more sporadic, not
Yeah, yeah,
consistent part of things. And then the
that
consistent
lightning.
stuff is, yeah, because, I'll get an idea and I'll say, oh, that might work, but then it's not as polished. So I like to give it time to breathe. But then there are other times when I went, if I don't make this in the next 12 hours, no one's going to care and I'm going to lose all of the momentum. It hasn't actually been quite that serious, but
Yeah, no, but I get what
close.
you're saying.
Yeah.
So for the YouTube shopping integration specifically, you mentioned advice a few minutes ago, but what specific advice would you give for creators looking to be successful with the integration?
Yeah. If you want to be successful with the integration, I would say have everything set up before you are ready to go.
Mhm.
Make sure that your shop works. Make sure that all of the products you want are linked correctly. Make sure you have options for folks. Make sure all of that is taken care of. Build hype. My first YouTube live stream with merchandise within the YouTube shopping sort of component of it, my first time doing all of this was a live stream to promote a TTRPG. We had been doing it for a year already, and every, week or so I was posting in my Discord. I was making a TikTok video about it, posting it to Instagram stories and my Instagram reels, just to sort of let people know, hey, this is happening at this date, at this time, and this is our sort of kickoff. This is our launch event. Having that launch event is great because it lets people who are in the community be even more a part of that community. I
Yeah.
will also say, to that end, listen to people. If someone, I've had multiple times when I've created a product for a YouTube launch, and people have asked me a week beforehand, hey, are you going to sell those as beanies or are you going to sell those as sweatpants? And I went, yeah, sure, I can absolutely provide that. And it's all sort of ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, there's like underlying themes to all this, really. It's like
Mhm.
it's this consistency piece, it's
Mhm.
making sure you're involving yourself in the community, as well as asking fans what they want so that what
Mhm.
you're selling very much aligns with what it is they're wanting to purchase.
Absolutely. If I may, fan feedback is absolutely crucial. I can tell you there are products that I have sold that just have not sold well. People aren't as interested. I thought it was a good idea, usually because it's a spur of the moment thing and it's up 12 hours later. But people are saying, "Oh, that's a fun idea, but not for me right now." So being able to sort of be consistent and listen to what the fans or your followers or whatever the trend is, whatever they want, that is a huge part of the success that I've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, while we have you here, we're always interested in insights about general creator success. So, how do you see the creator economy evolving over the next 5 years?
Oh gosh, that's a heck of a question. Uh,
Loaded.
yeah, fortunately and unfortunately, the social media landscape can change pretty much overnight.
Yeah.
The TikTok that we knew 3 years ago in the midst of the pandemic is not the TikTok we know now. The YouTube that we knew 3 years ago is not the YouTube that we have now. And I think the most important thing is to be aware of how much it's changing and what is changing. Because I couldn't get away with the same shenanigans I did 3 years ago, especially on YouTube,
Yeah.
because the needs of people are changing, the needs of the platforms are changing, and you need to be able to keep up with that. To that end, though, don't focus on it so much that you get burnt out or get lost in the numbers, because I think the landscape is going to change so quickly that it almost is, you don't want to dedicate too much time to it. You want to find that balance to make sure, all right, I understand what this platform wants. I know what the algorithm wants. I know what my fans want. I'm ready to go. Let's do it. And also build a community. I think the most important thing, regardless of where you are as a content creator, whether you've got 5 followers, 500, 5,000, 500,000, know the community you're in and speak their language. I have only seen a few episodes of Star Trek in my life. I cannot all of a sudden say, hey, I'm releasing Star Trek content. One, my community doesn't want that. Two, I don't know what that community wants. And I need to sort of almost integrate myself into that community if I want to get in there. It's a lot like learning a foreign language,
Yeah.
in that you need to be able to speak that language to understand how to succeed. So you need to know what the fans want. You need to know how the algorithms work. You need to know how the merchandise works. And on the back end, how are you able to sort of bring all of that to the forefront?
Yeah, and so there's some great advice in that response. So as the creator economy evolves, you kind of need to evolve with it, however that might be. Which if we could all predict that, we'd all
Yeah.
be pretty good spots. And just lastly, for everyone that's listening in and wants to follow your content, where can we find you on social media?
Yes, I am at Don Marshall 72 across all platforms. That's Don Marshall and then the numbers 72. I create Lord of the Rings content basically across all platforms. We have a long form tabletop role playing game like Dungeons and Dragons, but it's set in Middle Earth. TikTok short form videos about obscure Lord of the Rings facts. YouTube videos about reading the Silmarillion and how to understand a very complicated part of J.R.R. Tolkien's lore, and all number of shenanigans and buffoonery across the various platforms
Perfect.
I'm on.
All right, great. Well, thanks, Don, so much. We appreciate you here and sharing all your tips and tricks for the YouTube shopping integration.
Absolutely. Happy to help.